I wanted to show something that I found out recently in RPG Maker 2003. And yes, I have used RPG Maker 2003 before, and I'm actually developing a prototype at the moment and seeing if it can become something more substantial in the future. But what I wanted to show is, let me see if it's showing on OBS. Yes, it is. An alternative to the side view battlers that you can put on RPG Maker 2003. The limitation that these have is that they're battle sheets that only have 3 sprites. However, I saw a user that is making a game called Forlorn on RPG Maker Reddit that I thought was particularly interesting because he extended the battlers further. And the way that he did this is he basically went over here. Let me see if I can find it. He went to the poses, and when you set this up, you can click the battle graphics, but he did something else instead, where he attached an animation to a battle animation instead. So in the screen, you can only see the sprites below, because you have to adjust it based off the position that it's gonna like show up on the battle, essentially. So for example, if we go into the battle screen, and I had to make this whole sprite sheet from scratch with the animations already done, and then you just put it on the actual field. So you go into the animation, so let's say it's assault, and it's gonna play at the feet position on, in this case, -32, -24. What this is going to do, well, you would think that the character would not be lined up with the actual animation. What it thinks where the feet is for the side view battler on the field on RPG Maker 2003 is actually completely different than what it would be for like the anime, essentially. So this is the animation running, and yes, it's -32, -24, and this animation is replacing the animation for assault instead of using a charge set, which would use the RPG Maker sheet set. And if we look at troops now, and you see this animation in action, let's see if it's showing the animation. Yes, it is. I'm going to close the screen ever so slightly. I'm going to show it now. Assault. You can see that I was able to line it up perfectly. The thing that is important in order to figure out whether these animations are lined up, because you're going to be spending a bit more time, is by using the sprite of the idle animation and doing trial and error until you find the spot in the sheet that you're supposed to place the sprite, and also at what position it should be in the animation tab. Once you nail that down, you just have to keep in mind that that's basically the center point of where your animation goes, and you can go from there. So now you can see the other animations that I did, for example, for the uppercut, and then the punch. So let me just show you very quickly what I did on S-Sprite, because that is going to showcase the animation. This is a different one. This is, let me see, RPG Maker 2003, Battle, Steel, Punch 2, I believe, yep. So character starts over here. Keep in mind that in the RPG Maker I had to put -24, -32. You're gonna have to adapt depending on the position that it's gonna like show up, so you're gonna have to adjust until you get it right. So what I did was essentially use this as use this specifically as a guideline, because at minus 24, minus 32, this will be positioned exactly on top of the idle battler in the field. And from there, you can use a guideline for everything else, because now you're going to have the character move, like so, and then you'll head back to the starting position. Now, I only have animated until 21, because I don't need an additional frame, because it will just pick up the standard frame, because it's going to go back to the starting position, which is this one. You can see it's like animated properly. So yeah, that's kind of what you have to do. Once you get that figured out, you can do it very easily, I would say. I will definitely admit that you do have to play around with your sprite sheet and play around with the animation tab in order to get this to work. But once you do, you can have pretty decent results. So playing around with this until you get this right. For in my case, minus 32, minus 24. Y position feet. Start with the sprite on like the bottom, but remember, adjust it to your idle sprite, and make sure that you line up your idle sprite on the sprite sheet first, so you know where that sprite is on the when it's actually being played on the battle screen first. So when you're doing animations, you know it's going to go from that point to the other points, if that makes sense. That's my best way of like describing it. I don't know if this is going to help anyone, but I kind of figured this might be useful for someone. As I said, credit to the person developing Forlorn, because I never considered this before, but this can extend the sprites up to 25, unlike having the limited 3 frames per battle sheet, depending on which animation you're doing. So this allows you to go further. Of course, keep in mind that you do have to take like a couple of breaks between frames in order to make sure that it has ideal build up and whatnot. That's what I had to do over here. So I'm using those 21 frames, but there's a couple of frames where I have 2-3 frames in certain attacks, so you can't go too wild on it, but this is definitely an option in order to do extended CV battlers on RPG Maker 2003. Anyways, this is Steel Soldier signing off. I hope this helps someone.